And now it is with great pleasure that I bring into the great chain of queer being I didn't do this for Jose, but I know I'm a lesbian. Carolyn Dinshaw. Let me just say that Carolyn is a medieval studies scholar. She works on English, medieval, her work is in English medieval scholarship. Works on just the most incredible things that I just love so much. And really do. And the thing that I love about Carolyn, and that I wanted to introduce her as for you tonight, is that by another one of her peers, and think about it, in medieval studies, it's unlikely that a peer would call Carolyn Dinshaw the poet of her profession. And Carolyn has written a new book, and Gretchen Phillips, who came all the way from Texas to be with us this evening, has written the song for that book. And I'm going to turn it over to Carolyn now to give you a little bit of an update on How Soon Is Now, and then Gretchen will sing Full of Other Times.
Thanks, Kay. I brought medieval lady Barbie. I'm going to introduce my book. She's exquisite. I love her outfit, the long sleeves, the freaky headdress that looks like a boomerang be hung with Brillo pads. You'll be able to see that in the back. I love the references to the Middle Ages, the ermine around her ample bust, the jewels around her neck, the flowing gown, and then that eye makeup that I think is a little more 1990s. So I'm telling you that I love her temporal heterogeneity. Behold. Stay in the queer circle by all means, Barbie. So I've been fascinated for a very long time by the relationship between past and present, the ways the past inheres in the present, the ways we never really leave the past behind. In my earlier book, the one that Kay mentioned, I thought intensively about making connections across different points in time. Touching across time was what I called it, and I was interested in the creation of communities, especially queer communities, across time, between past, present, and future. So I wanted to, in this new book, to explore temporal experiences even in more detail. And so you can hear the resonances with Jose's work, which is all about time as well. I too wanted to think about experiences that are not linear. When a figure like Rip Van Winkle sleeps, who is pictured there, waking up after a 20-year one-night sleep. Now the Middle Ages are really interesting, a very interesting era in which to explore this kind of non-linear time. It's before, the Middle Ages were before modernity, with its relentlessly linear, sequential, moment-by-moment passage of time. So what I do in the book is take up a whole range of stories from medieval texts and focus on what I think of as the queerness of time in those texts. I look at medieval Rip Van Winkle stories of monks who leave the cloister, following a bird who's singing, and go out into the forest and listen to a rapturous song and hear the abbey bells ringing, going back at noon at the ringing of the bells to discover that 200 years have passed, for example. Or a king who follows a strange figure into a cave, stays there for 3 days, comes back and discovers that 700 years have passed. I'm very interested in those stories in which time passes, but passes in a completely different way from a linear, sequential, measurable, moment-by-moment time. I look at figures who experience a mystical, divine now, in which past, present, and future are all comprehended at once. Or I look at figures who sip from the fountain of youth, or try to get into the Garden of Eden itself. So that's one part of the book, and then I turn my attention to modern readers of those medieval texts, readers who are swept away by and into those alternate temporalities, those queer moments of now. These aren't professional readers who are required by disciplinary protocols to detach and analyze. These are amateur readers who rather are absorbed into the text they're reading. They become intimately attached to these figures of the monk, the mystic, the medieval traveler, identifying with these characters and losing themselves. It's those amateurs whose attachment I want to valorize, those non-modern approaches that I want to celebrate. So in this book, I'm not only trying to provide a view of medieval texts, their peculiar temporal queerness, but I'm also wanting to value the amateur approach, absorbed into other kinds of time, as distinct from the sometimes soul-crushing, detached regimes of the modern professional. So, in How Soon Is Now, I try to describe a now that is full of different kinds of time. And again, the resonance with Jose's work should be clear. It's not an empty time, blankly forward-moving, lonely, the time of melancholy Morrissey, whose song my title refers to. But it's a richer, denser, more crowded now, full of past, present, and future, as Gretchen will sing, always already very full.
Is this as far as this goes? Okay. I thought, you know what? I'm going to dress up like Rip Van Winkle. And I was going to put something on Facebook. Who has a Santa beard? Because I felt like I had the hair. But then I wanted to wear this rather than that. It's going to take me a second. Those who know my work know that it takes me a second. That's been known to happen before. It takes a second, which apparently, according to the theme of the song, is fine. One of my seconds is, what's that like for you? I don't know.
places.